I have listened very well, and also yesterday the past 2 days, I went to the research department and the budget office to help me understand this year's budget.
Friday, November 26, 2021, the leader of the National Grand Coalition at the Salone Parliament, Honorable Dr. KKY Yumkela, take the debating floor at the Well of Parliament for talk on different issues them inside the Salone 2022 budget. And as plenty sabiam, he been do this just like our lecturer. They give free public lecture to students them.
Let me start by saying that in economics, the assumptions you make when you're planning matter. The projections you make also matter.
Not a secret say one of the most educated and experienced member of parliament na Salone, na Honorable KKY Yumkela, both nationally as first-term Minister of Trade and internationally as first-term Under-Secretary General at the United Nations. One of the issue them with the leader of NGC raise up get for do with revenue when a couple with government they get through tax where they collect, and according to Honorable Yumkela, government don't they do well for get a revenue over the years, but still is a challenge on day as to the amount of couple where government can project for gather and spend, and the actual couple where government can in fact gather.
Government has done very well on increasing revenue mobilization. We see a lot of that positive trend. However, there's a big however, that from 2018 to 2021, we have always fallen short by about 25 to 30% on our revenue projections, how much we think we're going to have to spend. In 2018, we projected about 5 trillion, we raised about 4.8 trillion. 2019, 6.9, we raised 5.8. 2020, 8.3, 6.2, and this year looks very tough. So far, we projected 8 trillion, we've only raised about 4.5. So it matters the amount of revenue we assume we're going to get. And it also matters how much we spend. And my problem is that continuously we spend more than we have. Thanks to donor generosity, and that's why the minister shows at the beginning of the budget how much grants and other support we've received from donors. And their support sometimes varies between 25 to 30% of our budget. So thanks to them, we have been able to keep the economy afloat, but we can't keep spending more than we raise.
Honorable Yumkela carry on for talk the real macroeconomics language, where it start for talk about the plenty debts them we Salone get. For example, the 1.44 trillion loans we Salone government for pay, and 1.26 trillion loans of that na inside Salone, and the kind of a small couple with the country together where you compare to within the country need for spend on different other important sector them like education, health, energy, and agriculture.
The whole issue of debt matters. I know Honorable Lahai Mara tried to explain it in his own method. Let me use my own method of explaining. If you go to page 32 and look at what the government has said for 2022, their projections for 2022, it matters that they have said that interest payment alone will be 1.44 trillion. Interest payments on the debt. It matters. For those of us who have done development economics, in the 80s and 90s, when people were pushing for debt forgiveness for countries, it is because a lot of their revenues they should use for development is tied to paying debts. So let's take our own 1.44 trillion, what it means. 1.44 trillion is almost how much we spend on education, because we're spending 1.7 trillion. It is almost twice what we spend on healthcare. So it matters. It is almost 6 times what we spend on agriculture. And it is about 8 times what we spend on energy. The more debt we take, the more difficulty the government has to invest in development and socio-economic transformation of the country itself.
One other important issue inside the Salone 2022 budget, where Honorable Yumkela talk about, get for do with how government hopes the country in economy go grow with a growth projection, we according to the NGC leader, no match with waiting government on the spend on different sector them, like agriculture, we for make that hope they come to life.
I am surprised that the minister is so optimistic, Honorable Minister, about growth prospects. You have said in your risk section from 206 to about 211, all the risks, even now it's raining heavily. So even your optimism about agriculture is questionable. I met with FAO a few days ago. Looking at production of rice across the country, they're very worried. Right now it should be drying up, but it is raining heavily. So they're worried already about production next year. Why do I say this? If you project that you're already going to grow at 5%, it sounds too rosy when your risks that you list, COVID for example, you yourself say that the most effective mitigation measure is vaccines. But I have not heard much here how much you've given to vaccines. We only have about 3.7% of the population vaccinated. You are very worried even globally. Iron ore prices. Yes, we're expecting exports, but you also say in page 26 that the price of iron ore dropped from 214 to about 129 per ton. And again, you go back in 2009 to caution us that you are not very sure because demand could decline around the world. So this is why I worry about the projections you are making and whether we will have the money to finance all of what you want to finance. I would have thought that you would have tried to shrink expenditure a little bit, that you would have prioritized a little. Remember the title of your budget, the theme, Rebuilding Resilience for Inclusive Green Recovery. As you know, I have been a part of the IMF World Bank network on green recovery since last year. When you're looking at green recovery, it matters where you put your money. So for example, if we already know we are one of the most hungry countries in the world, fourth or fifth most hungry, we want to see how much is going into agriculture, not only to enhance production, but to make it climate resilient. But what I noticed, page 81, the investment in agriculture, the total share of the budget is going to shrink to 3%. Yet your projections are based on the fact that you expect a higher growth in agriculture. But the total allocation from the budget is going to be about 3%, which is much less than you did before. Page 15 to 16, you will see some of your own numbers there.
But we be respond at the well of Parliament, the Deputy Minister of Finance, Sheikh Ahmed Fantamadi Bangura, believes the projection with the Ministry of Finance don't do but the country in economy for the next 1 year, not to by guess, but na careful study, we then do lead them for make them conclusion.
We have been studying the trend on how the Sierra Leone economy evolves. And as far as we're concerned, we are guided by that trend as we have seen us recovering in a very stable or gradual fashion in 2021 from the contraction that we experienced from a very difficult pandemic that we know affected every country in the world. And our growth projections are guided largely by what we see happening with our production data. Be it in the agricultural sector, or be it in the manufacturing sector, be it in the construction sector, be it in the discussions that we have held in the mining sector as well, where we see a balanced outcome, because we know that there are price changes on iron ore, and we have active iron ore engagements and new ones that we have actually revived, but also some development that we think are upside on rutile, which was about to fall, but we have concluded that very effectively. And Minister said we want to see those agreements, certainly, they will come to the well as well. But to say the projections, we are comforted and very much confident that we are very measured on what we have projected as 5% recovery, for the coming year.
On the area we get for do with debt, the Deputy Minister of Finance, Mr. Bangura, say the domestic debt where the country gets now one we don't get for long term now, but the Ministry of Finance don't they work on how them for handle then debt here. For Salone Parliament, I on Gla TV Online. Mina Abdullah Gla, the report.